Is now called to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, please?
Here. Mr. Corman?
Here.
Mr. Pavoni?
Here.
Ms. Perez?
Here.
Mr. McIrvin?
Here.
Ms. Switchy?
Here.
Mr. Person?
Here.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all present.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, first item on the agenda are a couple of proclamations.
Okay, proclamation, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and/or abuse, and whereas it has been estimated that every 9 seconds a woman is beaten by her husband or boyfriend in this country, in more than half of those instances, children under the age of 12 are present. And whereas in 2017, 35 people died in Washington State as a result of domestic violence, including domestic violence victims killed by partners or ex-partners, friends, family members, and bystanders killed by abusers. And whereas 1,105 adult and children victims of domestic violence found refuge in emergency shelters or transitional housing provided by local domestic violence programs in Washington State. And whereas more than half of the abusers responsible for domestic violence related fatal shootings were prohibited by law from owning firearms. And whereas domestic violence does not discriminate and crosses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and societal barriers and is sustained by indifference. And whereas the City of Renton is working to improve the overall response to and the reduction of domestic violence in our region with awareness to the cultural differences in our community, and whereas October is nationally recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Now therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim October 2018 to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Renton, and I encourage everyone in our community to take an active role in supporting all victims so they can lead healthy lives safe from violent and abusive behavior. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 8th day of October 2018, signed Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ms. Perez.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Perez, second by Mr. Prince, that council concur with this proclamation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I think, is Tina here? Tina, come on up. Tina Harris, who is our domestic violence advocate. Tina, you got to smile.
Good evening. Mayor Law, council members, and the Renton residents, thank you for taking the time to recognize the importance of domestic violence in our community and recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I'd like to take this moment to remember Dean LaHowe, Fatima Zavela, Barbara and Beretta Hawkins, Kathy Chow, Jessica Scholl, Allison Leedy, Megan Smith, and Ingrid Lynn. These individuals lost their lives due to domestic violence. As these individuals lost their lives, many others were saved by community-based domestic violence programs, such as the YWCA, DAWN, RIWA, Consejo, Centro de Rendu, churches, intervention and prevention programs, law enforcement, and others who have assisted in keeping individuals safe. The City of Renton continues to secure funding from federal grants and the general fund to assist victims of domestic violence. To date, we have approximately served over 500 new victims with new cases and provided 3 times the contacts for victim services. Domestic violence calls are still some of the most dangerous calls for law enforcement officers, and sometimes guns are used in making the lethal call and the call more dangerous. The City of Renton prosecutors, courts, probation, EHM, advocates, fire, and law enforcement officers continue to provide ongoing prosecution, accountability, and support to the safety planning to the residents of Renton. As a domestic violence victim advocate, I am humbled and honored to continue to serve the Renton residents and appreciate the support of council and the mayor during October Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tina. Okay, now we have a Fire Prevention Week.
Okay, proclamation, Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the City of Renton is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all of those living in and visiting our city, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations of where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occur at home each year, and whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to U.S. fire departments was 10% higher in 2016 than in 1980, and whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and whereas residents should install working smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home, and whereas residents should listen for the sound of the smoke alarm, and when it sounds, respond by going outside immediately to a designated meeting place, and whereas the 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now therefore, I, Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton, do hereby proclaim October 7 through 13, 2018 to be Fire Prevention Week in the City of Renton in commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, and I encourage all citizens to join me in this special observance, and witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Renton to be affixed this 8th day of October, 2018, signed Dennis Law, Mayor of the City of Renton.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move the proclamation be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Pavoni, that this proclamation be adopted as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. So this evening, we're fortunate to have Angela St. John from Renton Regional Fire Authority to accept this proclamation. Should we make Roy come up and get his picture taken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold on for a sec.
Mayor, we have a new public educator that just started with us this week. Could she-
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
No such chance.
Everybody take one step that way, one step forward. There we go. One, two, and.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Angela St. John. I'm the fire marshal with the Renton Regional Fire Authority. And first of all, I want to say thank you. Our fire authority is pleased and thankful for the continued partnership with the City of Renton and our efforts and the support that we've had on our fire prevention programs. As Jason said, look, listen, learn, be aware, fire can happen anywhere is the national theme. And we felt like it was a good opportunity to come in and remind the council members and the folks that are here in the audience tonight when you go home to check your smoke alarm. It's very simple. There's a little button on it. Push the button, it should sound. If it doesn't, it most likely means that the battery needs to be changed or there's some other issue. We're here to help you with that. You can call our fire department anytime and we will come out. Almost weekly, we're going out and helping our seniors in the community to make sure their smoke alarms are working. Folks that call and tell us they need a new smoke detector. We have some great partnerships that we've worked out with Home Depot, with Lowe's, and with Fred Meyer and Walmart in the community, where they're constantly donating smoke detectors to us so that we can install those in homes in the community. And that has made a big difference. The other thing when you get home, please talk to your family members about having an evacuation plan, making sure that if you have children that they know to evacuate and how to do that in the case of a fire, And then lastly, that you have a meeting place, that everybody knows where to go, so that once you get out of the fire, that you all go to that place, and that you have accountability for where you're at. Renton has had success with lowering our fire rate, which is a positive thing. Nationally, that number is going up. Here in Renton, we seem to be a fire-safe community through the things that we're doing. So we celebrate that, and thank you again.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, now we're moving on to a special presentation. If you look around the room, we see a lot of our friends from the Sister City organizations. So, Sonia.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Law, Council President Prince, members of council, and guests. My name is Sonia Maylander, Community Relations and Events for the City of Renton. Tonight, I am joined by volunteers of our Renton Sister Cities Association, Donna Lee Ho, Chris Johnson, and Rich Wagner. And as Mr. Mayor said, we do have a number of Sister City Committee volunteers. If you'd like to stand so we can acknowledge you, that'd be great. There's a lot of history of programming represented with our guests tonight. The Renton Sister Cities Association, a nonprofit established in 2011, works in partnership with the city to enhance citizen understanding and appreciation for other cultures and strengthen our global community through people-to-people relationships. Together, community volunteers and the city plan, coordinate, and host Sister City-related activities. Program areas and benefits focus on education, cultural, humanitarian, tourism, and business and economic connections, to name just a few. While the Sister Cities Association formed in 2011, Sister City programming in Renton actually began almost 50 years ago and has been nurtured and developed through many cultural exchanges, municipal sharing and problem solving, exchanges of public art, and countless friendships. Currently, our Sister Cities Association has 2 volunteer subcommittees. One to support our relationship with Nishiwaki, Japan, which started in 1969, and the other supports our Sister City relationship with Cuautla, Mexico, which was established in 2001. In preparation for today's presentation, you also have in your council packet our Sister Cities brochure, which has history, program benefits, and ways for community members to participate. We'd also like to invite the public to visit the city's website and our Sister Cities page at rentonwa.gov and the Sister Cities Association Facebook page to learn more about activities. Our Sister City relationships were formed in response to mutual interest by both cities. Sister Cities programming embraces and builds on our cultural diversity and provides an opportunity to educate others, growing our boundaries with shared experiences and people-to-people relationships. I'd like to invite Donna Lee Ho to come forward, who will continue our presentation giving highlights to recent activities with our Sister City with Cuautla.
Good evening. Cuautla. It's a small agrarian community in central Mexico with a resident population of less than 3,000. It's located in the high valleys of the Sierra Madres, halfway between Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta. It's so small that you might ask, why Cuautla? Well, have you ever eaten at Toreros?
Yes.
Azteca, Mazatlan, Las Margaritas, Las Fuentes, Mayas, El Tapatio, and on and on. All of these and many more, totaling nearly 300 Mexican restaurants in the Pacific Northwest, are all owned by entrepreneurs from Cuautla. And then there's about 1,500 more in the United States. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs in Cuautla. Many of the restaurateurs live in or near Renton and have contributed to this community for a very long time. We are fortunate in Renton that Cuautla actually picked us to be their sister city. So that happened in 2001. And then we have made visits back and forth for 17 years since then, a few. In July of this year, 5 of us put together a little delegation and returned to visit the people of Cuautla. And we appreciated the opportunity to meet with local officials, the mayor, the incoming mayor, and 2 past mayors, and all the other local officials, and the restaurant owners, and the charming and absolutely delightful, generous people of Cuautla. We were embraced immediately when we got there as Renton's ambassadors during Cuautla's annual fiesta. So the fiesta bears a resemblance to our Renton River Days, only it's 9 days long, has a parade every day, and has a big party every night in the plaza that could go to 3 or 4 in the morning. There's a lot of tacos and a lot of tequila, and it's a great time. Really great time. When we first arrived, we were invited immediately to lead the parade, and when we got to the end of the parade, we were then ushered over to this new community center, which is a repurposed school, which is brilliant in itself. We were the guests of honor, 2 young women in harmony sang the Star-Spangled Banner, and I'll tell you, it was a rendition that would you'd be proud of in any big sports stadium. And then, much to our surprise, they also dedicated an entire room of this new facility to the Renton Cuautla Sister City program. And it's full, the whole room is full of photos, and we're going to do a lot more with them on that. So you ask, why were we there this summer? A year ago, our biggest advocate and fearless leader, Andy Jorgensen, passed away, and we lost her. So we wanted to do something special in her honor. So we took some of the money that we have fundraised over the years, and which is being very well taken care of by the Renton Community Foundation, and we took that money and we made 2 scholarships for the students in Cuautla to go to college in the state of Jalisco. The state of Jalisco actually will cover their tuition as long as they qualify, but the rest of they can't go because they don't have money for food and transportation and housing. So our scholarships will cover that, and they'll go on for years, and we may add to that. We've got lots of projects we would like to do with them, actually. We presented these scholarships at this dedication of the community center. And there were 25 high school students there, which we didn't expect. We didn't even know there were that many seniors that could qualify. So that was pretty wonderful. And in thanks for our gift, and totally to our tearful surprise, I mean, we absolutely were not expecting it. Not only did they dedicate the room to us, but our amigos had a special honor for us. They named the room after Andy. And so it's the Salon Andy Jorgensen. So it was very special. They really rolled out the red carpet. They did a whole lot for us, and we had a wonderful time. It was magical. It was heartfelt. The community is incredibly generous and wonderful to work with, and it was really an honor to be a citizen diplomat and to represent Renton and be an ambassador for Renton. And we sincerely hope that you all can join us in some of these activities, maybe a trip, and the rest of the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Chris Johnson. He's the chairman of the Renton Nishiwaki Sister City Committee, and he'll give highlights and an update on recent activities.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, good evening. Always excited to be here, and it's an honor. Nishiwaki is located in the center of Japan, and it's so much the center that in Japan it's referred to as the belly button of Japan. It has a population of about 44,000 people and an economy that's based around production, the textile production, semiconductor production, and then they also are renowned for their fly fishing hooks. Our Renton Nishiwaki Sister City relationship began 49 years ago when delegates from the Renton Lions Club visited Nishiwaki and established a formal relationship devoted to education, cultural growth, tourism, and economic conditions. We have two of those members from the 1969 delegation visit with us, and I'd like them to stand so we can at least see who they are. Roger and Wyman. So in 1969, they were in Nishiwaki, Japan, setting up this relationship. There have been many delegation visits, both to and from Nishiwaki since that time, with the most recent being a 20-member delegation visit from Renton to Nishiwaki in 2016, which included council members Randy Corman and Caroline Witchy, and past and current city staff as well as community members. The relationship between Renton and Nishiwaki also includes middle school student delegation visits and exchanges led by the Renton School District. These have occurred annually since the late 1980s. So for 30 years, we've had middle school students going back and forth between Nishiwaki and Renton. Collectively, between our citizen delegation visits and annual student exchanges, we've had more than 1,300 people be involved in exchanges between our two cities over the last 50 years. In fact, I'd like, if I could, everybody in this room that's been involved in a delegation visit or hosted someone from Nishiwaki, either to Japan or coming this way, could I have you raise your hands, please? There are a lot of people in Renton that know who Nishiwaki is. There are a lot of people in Japan also that know who Renton is. Just recently, in the state of Washington, hosted the 2018 Japan America Society Grassroots Convention. This is an international summit that's held every year. This is the first year it's been held in Washington. This was a week-long delegation visit to Washington from 140 delegates from all over Japan. Here in Renton, we welcomed 5 delegates who stayed in 4 of our Renton-based homestays. When I talked with the international directors of the Grassroots Summit here, the coordinator for the homestays told me that Renton was the second most requested city in Washington behind Seattle for homestay visits. That's not because we had Disneyland here. They knew who we were, and we have that name recognition, in large part due to our many delegation visits back and forth. And I'd also want to extend a special thank you to Councilmember Caroline Witchy for being one of our homestay hosts this last time. And from everything that I could see, they had a fun time. They were always laughing. Also, I want to extend our appreciation to Council President Prince, Chief Administrative Officer Bob Harrison, Deputy Police Chief Schultz, Deputy Fire Chief DeSmith, and the Fire Marshal St. John for representing the city when these delegates visited City Hall just a couple of weeks ago. Other highlights of our daily excursions included Jean Coulon Beach Park, Renton History Museum with a tour by the museum director Liz Stewart, the Jimi Hendrix Memorial, and a barbecue dinner hosted by the Renton Lions Club at the Renton, or their youth camp, which is along the Cedar River. After these 140 delegates from Japan finished so they were here for a couple of days in Seattle, and then after they finished their homestays, everybody from across the state gathered at the Hyatt here in Renton for closing ceremonies. So the closing ceremonies consisted of all of the delegates, their host families, local and state leadership, as well as Japan America Society leadership, and it was a big event and a lot of fun. So the cultural understanding that comes from events like this and the increase in friendship and the widening of vision that occurred with each of these participants was immeasurable. Excuse me. Next year, the City of Renton and the Renton Nishiwaki Sister City Committee within the Renton Sister Cities Association and many community members will help plan and welcome a delegation from Nishiwaki to celebrate the 50th anniversary of our relationship. Next year's 50th year anniversary celebration will be another memorable and valuable opportunity to expand our community engagement, our global vision, and strengthen our city's cultural awareness. Now I'd like to introduce to you Rich Wagner to conclude our presentation.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You may have noticed I was crossing out a lot of things because I don't want to drag the redundancies here. But what I want to do is impress upon all of you how important the sister city is to our community and how these other sister cities we learn so much from them. You've heard about many of the exchanges, and in every one of these exchanges, we have learned even more about the importance of our own families and our own communities. One of the things that we continually find as we travel around, and we all travel, but when you go with a group, you realize how hard these communities are working to really stay together, and there are many, many powerful moments. The program is dedicated to fostering understanding, appreciation, and peaceful coexistence with our international neighbors. The benefits are many. I think they're highlighted in your brochure. Let me highlight just a few. From economic development and tourism to education and culture. From humanitarian aid to just pure citizen-to-citizen diplomacy. When we go out, we often feel like we are ambassadors for the city, and it's a critical role for us to play, and we're on our best of behaviors. We've also found that there are important opportunities to share expertise about solving municipal problems that all of us seem to face, and also bringing professional exchanges, engineers and once in a while an architect, so it works pretty well. Mm-hmm. I'd like to say that from sushi to sake, to tacos and tequila, we are creating lasting relationships that can grow within our global community. We think there's many more opportunities such as these. And in the end, we expand our horizons to see the wonders of the places in our world and to see a little differently the wonders that we have right here in Renton. Our mutual efforts are valuable and important to our diverse Renton community. Expansion of our world relationships is a reflection of our citizens and our businesses. Our volunteer sister city committees welcome others to join us. And in these activities and to grow or reach out to many of our Renton residences to help us with fundraisers, sister city community activities, and events and festivals. I think I can close there. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Fellow council members, thank you. And a special thanks to all the staff that supported this. Certainly open to any questions or embellishments that you might wish. We could talk about these trips all day. And often
Council,
do.
any questions from council?
I just wanted to make one comment that my daughter hasn't stopped crying since she had to say goodbye to her new best friend.
Oh, I heard that story. And some of the pictures were so touching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the only thing I'll wrap up by saying, we really appreciate all the work that you guys do with the Sister City organization. It's, when we host people here in particular, it's a lot of work. And I've been able to participate with some of that, so I know how much work goes into it. And you've kept it alive and well, and the relationships are very strong. For Cuautla, it doesn't hurt that Ted Rodriguez lives here, and he might as well be the governor of Cuautla. And so anyway, we appreciate all you do. I think there may be something there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet.
Thank you,
Thank you.
council members.
Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to administrative report, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. 2 items this evening. First is the grand opening celebration of the new Sartori Elementary School. Will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, October 9th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. The new school is located at 332 Park Avenue North in Renton. The second item is that you residents have the opportunity to volunteer with the City of Renton and help to beautify our city parks for everyone to enjoy. The Fall Green and Clean event will be Saturday, October 13th from 8:45 a.m. to 11 a.m. Feel free to register for this or other volunteer opportunities at the city's website at rentonwa.gov. That's all for this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to audience comments, we have two people signed up to talk about Sister City. So Diane Dobson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Sign up for twofold, two different hats. One, Renton Downtown Partnership has an event upcoming this weekend with the City of Renton. We have a whole bunch of different activities going on. Hope to see you out there. Saturday's full from 5K in the morning at Karkawa, community booths and educational outreach, some documentaries playing. There's a community mural that's being painted, a living coloring book, if you will. There's salmon viewing in partnership with the Environmental Science Center, the Seattle Aquarium, and the Cedar River Naturalists. There's kids salmon spotting in downtown Renton, where they will find Ella and Sam, the two salmon who have escaped from the river and are downtown shopping. It's an adult scavenger hunt, pub crawl with Minute to Win It at 7 different venues, and then we have an urban night market with about 70 different vendors that will be in, bringing 5 different vacant storefronts to life on Saturday. Also relating to the sister cities, I wanted to share with you my experience. I've had the fortune of growing up immersed within the sister city relationships and exchanges, with my father being one of the co-founders of this Nishiwaki Renton Sister City Exchange. So I can appreciate growing up with that cultural awareness. We've had people from not just Japan, but with that sister city door that is opened, we've had people from Germany, Finland, Italy, Russia, China, Japan. In our house, chopsticks were a permanent fixture in our drawer. Our mailbox at the holidays was full of greeting cards stamped with airmail. We learned at an early age how to write on rice paper to be cognizant of the postal weight. But the other things that we learned and walked away with that my daughter was fortunate to be involved with too. She did the middle school exchange to Nishiwaki, and we've had people stay with us from Nishiwaki. And I can remember growing up with the hat lady, and it was a lady from Japan that would just giggle and laugh. The language barrier was there, but there was an understanding. She was our friend. She shared her hats with us. It wasn't until I traveled to Nishiwaki myself to find out later her name was Mrs. Ozawa, and she was one of the largest owners of one of the largest textile industries. And her house spanned a whole city block, and they had walls and media rooms, and that wasn't a part of the equation when we met and we became friends. And later when we traveled to her house, my daughter played with her grandson, and he spoke no English, my daughter spoke no Japanese, but they played for hours, and they played with soccer balls, and they played with action figures, and they learned to embrace and enjoy one another, which, Ms. Witchy, I'm sure your daughter experienced as well, that it's that exposure to the other culturals and the immersion in that type of culture that just removes barriers and creates an understanding that unless you experience it, you don't realize it to the same level. So thank you to the City of Renton for all of your support over the years for that Sister City program and for the experiences that you've allowed not just our residents but our youth to experience growing up and that type of understanding and appreciation that they have for other cultures. Hopefully we'll see you on Saturday out at one of the events.
Thanks, Diane. Wyman.
I'm Wyman Dobson, and yes, that's my daughter, and I'm proud of her. I was involved in the Sister City program from day one. Lions Club meeting, I talked to a fellow by the name of Ernest McPeak, and he said, "What do you think about the Lions Club organizing a Sister City program?" I said, "It sounds very interesting." And we looked into it, and one reason I came to give you a little background on why we picked Nishiwaki. We were looking for Sister City, and we heard that Nishiwaki was also looking for Sister City. So we investigated the matter and found out that Nishiwaki had a population very similar to Renton's. Nishiwaki had a river running through the middle of their town, and they had 3 high schools at that time, and we had 3 high schools. Population in both cities at that time were about equal with each other. And they had the textile industry, which was a big industry in their town at that time, in addition to the fishing equipment. And we had the Boeing company here. And we communicated with them, and along the way, Roger Richard volunteered to be on the committee, so we had 3 people on the committee working on the thing. And we organized the thing, approached the city and asked them if they would consent and entered ordinance to the effect that we were going to run the Sister City program. And we did run it personally, the Lions Club, for a number of years until the city came along and said, hey, we're going to join you. And we've been with the city ever since. It's interesting to know that the Sister City is located near Kobe. That's Seattle's sister city. You go down the valley from Nishiwaki and you run into Kent's sister city. And you go a little further down the valley and you run into the Auburn sister city. And there's a lot of other sister cities within the state, so it's grown. The program we're proud of the program. And I'd like to give you all a little advice. If you ever have a chance to go to Nishiwaki, don't miss it. It's a wonderful experience. The people there are great people to communicate with. Our family's had a lot of fun. I think it's provided the city a lot of benefits, both cities. And go on the trip.
Thank you. I agree with you. I was just shocked when I got the opportunity to go over there, and it is a wonderful city, but the people are tremendous. They're just, well, you've experienced it. They're just a wonderful place to go. So look forward to the 50th anniversary celebration. That'll be nice. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Council, there are 6 items for your consideration, or any items you'd like pulled for discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Prince.
I move council concur with the consent agenda as published.
Second. It's been moved by Mr. Prince, seconded by Mr. Pavoni, that council concur with the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Prince.
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Corman?
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pavoni?
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Flores?
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. McGurven?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The Planning and Development Committee, well, I have a quick loose end to tie up, I guess, as it were, to the annexation that we were considering a few weeks ago, the public hearing we had regarding the Parker annexation. We have a report back from the King County Assessor's Office, and they've made the determination regarding that annexation petition certification, and have found that it did not meet the required 60% of assessed valuation, and is therefore insufficient. So no actions needed. Just wanted to report back to the council that there's nothing further for us to do on this matter this time, and kind of close that loop.
Great, thank you. Okay, Ms. Witchy?
No unfinished business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moving on.
Got all the work.
Oh, excuse me, I mean, moving on for 20 minutes with Mr. Person.
All right, Finance Committee reports approval of claims and payroll vouchers. Finance Committee approves the following payments. Accounts payable, total payment, $4,403,500 even for vouchers 92818, 93018, 368712 through 368716, 368732 through 368995. Payroll benefit withholding vouchers 5895 through 5904. 368717 through 368731, and one wire transfer. Payroll, a total payment of $1,420,832.27 for payroll vouchers, which include 734 direct deposits and 10 checks. This is the September 1st through 15th, 2018 pay period. And then Kidder Matthews, which is a total payment of $56,964.42 for vouchers 5703 through 5733. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
the vouchers contain some interesting things this week. They always do. But what I found interesting that we had over this particular period, we had 54 calls to where we use the language line services so that we could talk to people with different languages. That cost us $769.51. But then we had the language services, which would include for the court. and the police. We had 58 interpreters. And for the police, there was one Chinese phone call that cost $65. I don't know what it was for. And then we had a French phone transcript for the police department, which cost us $1,350. But our total bill to the language service was $7,205.71. We really do go out of our way to try and communicate with our diverse population. So it is there, and and our employees are well-trained in how to use it and make it available to everybody. With that, I move the council concur in the Finance Committee report.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next committee report is regarding a contract for the Teasdale Park playground replacement. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to enter into a small works contract agreement to provide playground equipment replacement to Teasdale Park in the amount of $152,282.69 to All Play Systems LLC and be funded from the Capital Improvement Fund, Fund 316. The committee recommends that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I
Person.
move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next report is regarding a grant for Sunset Neighborhood Park. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the agreement with the State Department of Commerce to accept $3 million in funding and commit $1,150,000 in a grant match. Grant matches will be derived from Fund 316 in the amount of $975,000 and from a King County Youth and Amateur Sports Fund grant in the amount of $175,000. The committee further recommends that the resolution regarding this matter be presented for reading and adoption, and the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the agreement with the Department of Commerce, and the budget be adjusted to reflect the grant funding. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next report is for the 2019 Kaiser Permanente Healthcare contract. Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the Kaiser Permanente contract, which was formerly Group Health, for 2019 for active employees and Left One retirees. The rates for active employees have decreased by 29% from 2018. Rates for retirees have remained unchanged for 2018. Funding has been provided in the 2019 budget. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
it's not often that you get a medical company that reduces your rates. So with that, I move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next Finance Committee report is the 2019 HMA contract. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to approve the Healthcare Management Administrator, HMA, and Envision RX contract for 2019 with a revised fee schedule of a 3% increase for 2019. The contract covers administrative services for claims on the city's self-insured medical, dental, and prescription plans. This is the signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
I move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, the next Finance Committee report is utility leak adjustment for Henry Friedman. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to adjust the account, the Friedman account, in the amounts of $2,581.85 for the applicable water, sewer, and King County Metro portions of the bill in accordance with City Code 8, RMC 8446 and 8523. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
there's another report, but like this, and I just want to say that it's our city policy to excuse the bills if the people, once every 5 years, if they have a certified leak. And both these, while the money is fairly substantial, the leak was found to be very big, and they lost this water in a short period of time. They have to pay 50% of the water over what they would have normally used, and the other is water that we won't, King County won't pay us. We won't have to pay King County for, so that's, well, it's a big sum. It's not as bad as it looks. With that, I move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
As Mr. Person remarked, this is also a utility leak adjustment for R2R investments. The Finance Committee recommends concurrence in the staff recommendation to adjust the R2R investments account in the amounts of $6,083.03 for the applicable water, sewer, and King County Metro portions of the bill in accordance with City Code 8446 and 8523. This is signed by the committee chair and members.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Person.
move the council concur in the recommendation of the Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Ms. Perez, that council concur with the Finance Committee report. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Jason. Moving on to legislation, we have one resolution and one ordinance for second and final reading.
Okay, the resolutions regarding the grant for the Sunset Neighborhood Park. A resolution of the City of Renton, Washington, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with Washington State Department of Commerce, accepting a grant for the Sunset Neighborhood Park Project Phase 2.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
move the council concur and approve the resolution as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Person, second by Mr. Corman, that this resolution be adopted as read. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, and the ordinance is for second and final reading regarding the National Electrical Code. An ordinance of the City of Renton, Washington, amending subsections 4560A2 and 4570C3 of the Renton Municipal Code by updating the Construction Administrative Code to apply to the 2017 National Electrical Code, updating the reference to the National Electrical Code in the Fire Code to be consistent with the Construction Administrative Code, and providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. McGurven.
I move that the ordinance be adopted as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. McGurven, seconded by Mr. Pavoni, that this ordinance be adopted as read. Requires a roll call.
Mr. Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Corman?
Aye.
Mr. Pavoni?
Aye.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. McGurven?
Aye.
Ms. Switchy?
Aye.
And Mr. Person?
Aye.
Roll call, Mr. Mayor, all ayes.
You guys have it. Thanks, Jason. Moving on to new business, Mr. Prince.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, October 15th, 2018, in the council chambers at 4 p.m., the committee of the whole will meet to discuss the 2019-2020 budget, department presentations, and council deliberations from the Administrative Services Department, the Community Services Department, the City Attorney Department, the Human Resources Risk Management Department, the Court, Police Department, and finishing up our Public Works presentation from tonight. And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Corman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to announce a Transportation Committee meeting for October 15th at 2:30 p.m., and it'll be in the council conference room. There's actually 7 items on that agenda. Amendment to Bruce Levin lease at the airport, Williams Avenue Bridge seismic retrofit and painting agreement, Hauser Way Bridge seismic retrofit and painting agreement, Bronson Way Bridge seismic retrofit and painting agreement, Highlands to Landing pedestrian connection project maintenance agreement, regional transit planning discussion, and emerging issues in transportation. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pavoni.
I have no new business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Community Service Committee that would have taken place on Monday, October 15, it has been canceled.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGurven.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Planning and Development Committee will be meeting in the council conference room on Thursday, October 11th at 4:30 p.m. There are 4 items on the agenda. The first is fire code amendments, which I have to say seems perfect given that it's Fire Prevention Week. Second is Title IV Docket 13, Groups C and D. Third, safe and healthy housing. Spoiler alert, Chip gave that one away earlier during Committee of the Whole.
Yeah.
And fourth, emerging issues in CED. That is all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Witchy?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Utilities Committee will be meeting this Thursday, October 11th at 3:30 PM in the council conference room. We have 4 items on the agenda, including franchise utilities joint use trench, Northeast 16th Street and Jefferson Avenue water quality grant, utility rates, and emerging issues in utilities. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Person?
Mr. Mayor, Finance Committee has already done its work, so we'll have
I
nothing
know.
to do.
That means we're out early next week. What's the wish of the council?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Prince, second by Mr. Corman, that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it.